This is a screencast for using the interactive projectile simulator. So essentially, if you go to Schoology, go down here at the bottom, use this link. This is the worksheet we're doing, but that's the link. When I click on that, I pull this up. So the initial instructions for part 1 say to set the speed to 10 meters per second. So I think that's the slowest. Nope, 10. And then angle to 0, and then height to 100. Annoying. Okay, so I would select all these. This would trace the path of the projectile. This will show the velocity vectors in red, and it'll show them as horizontal and vertical arrows. And this will show the acceleration vector in blue. So if I go start, you can see something like that. If I reset it, if you notice here, the horizontal arrow stays the same size, the vertical arrow does not stay the same size. So the vertical velocity is increasing, horizontal velocity stays the same. That agrees with what we know about projectiles. So you can change these. So you could do like, I don't know, 50, 40, something like that. Start again. And so forth. So there's things to do in part 1 for that. Make sure you record the data and answer the questions. When you go to part 2, now it's looking at things that are launched at an angle. And so for part 2, we're going to end up setting this at 60 meters per second initially. We're going to have this at 0 meters on the ground. And then we're going to have this at 60 degrees. Okay. And then, again, taking a look at things, this arrow represents the vertical velocity, which is initially up. This represents the horizontal velocity, and that represents the acceleration. So if we push start, you can pause this, by the way. Notice the vertical velocity goes from up to down. And we're looking at the X displacement and the Y displacement different times. So if you reset that, it'll do it again. Now, one of the things it's going to ask you to do is time the rising and falling. So when you get close to the top, you can scroll on these arrows or click on these to go 1 frame at a time. So that says 4.66 seconds for the time up, 768696. So right about here, the arrow switches between this time and this time from up to down. So between 5.26 and 5.36 is half the time. So I'd record that as 5.3 seconds because it's asking about the time up. If you continue this all the way to the end, the total time for this is around 10.6 seconds. And so to find the falling time, you would take 10.6 minus the 5.3 seconds we had on the way up, and that gives you 5.3 seconds on the way down. Only in one of the cases on trial 3 are you going to end up raising this to a particularly different height. It's like 25 meters, something like that. Okay? And then for trial 2, you're going to do the same thing as you did for trial 1 and part 2, but you're going to use a different, I think it's a different angle. So let's see here. Yeah, different angle or different velocity, doesn't matter, either one. So I could do something like that. I could do something like that for trial 2. Either way. And then the thinker questions are just after that. And there's ones on the back also where you're going to launch again from the ground. So you would reset it. You're going to launch at a couple different angles. I would keep the same speed. So I'd do like 60 meters per second. And then I do the different angles for that table on the back page. If you want to go to part 3, which is the Monkey Zookeeper one on the back page, just click on the link. Hopefully that helps.